Is Ralph. Good afternoon once again, everyone. My name is Ralph Pincus. I am the acting chair today for the Board of License and Inspection Review. In just a minute. My apologies. As I said, I'm the acting chair for the Illinois Board of License and Inspection Review. These proceedings are being transcribed. We have a court reporter, Ms. Robb, who is here, and I guess she could indicate that she is at work as we speak, as I speak. Good. The hearings are in fact being transcribed. There's a written record of everything you say. We will start by introducing the members of the board who are present. I'm acting chair. My name is Ralph Pincus.
I'm Steve Pettit, board member.
Tim Washington, board member.
Cortez Patton, board member.
We have
Ryan
a
McSherry.
quorum. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I thought Ryan McSherry, board counsel.
Richard Wade, board administrator.
We have a quorum, so we can proceed. The first matter of business is for a representative of the city law department to let us know if matters have been disposed and any other administrative matters. If, as you hear the city representative speak, and I assume it's Mr. Rulo, if and when he speaks, pay attention. He may speak and mention your appeal that we are supposed to hear today. A city action may have already been taken. Your matter may have been, as the word is used that will be used is moot. So the city may have settled or found the matter or the matter resolved. And if you have some trouble understanding, you can always call the board administrator whose name and number is on your hearing notice, but we will move on if a matter is moot. So Mr. Rulo, please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, board members. This is Michael Rulo, R-U-L-L-O, on behalf of the city. I'm going to begin with number 11 on the list, appeal ending 001379. Excuse me, appeal number 11, appeal ending 001275. 3818 Haverford Avenue, a James Ferreira is the appellant. That matter can be marked moot.
All right, it is noted that it is moot.
Moving on to number 12, appeal ending 005009, 4519 to 45 Chestnut Street. The appellant is a Regis Hulsmanen. My understanding is that matter was previously settled and read into the record, so I believe it had been listed in error. I'm not sure if the board is aware of that or not. I can turn that over to the assigned attorney if necessary.
Well, I do have a copy that was sent today that I received as an exhibit document indicating there's a settlement agreement. I'm not aware if it's been read into the record at a prior time, perhaps Mr. Wade.
I only have that it was continued May 11th. It was continued. The settlement was never actuated until today.
Then I can continue with the list and turn that over to the attorney, Ms. Reinhardt, who can handle that when after I'm done here.
Very good. Before you proceed, I just want to mention a business matter, which we'll probably be attending to as permitted by the procedures for modifying the rules and regulations for the board. I noticed that today we've received a couple of exhibit packages from the city within an hour of today's hearing. Some of us like to look at these documents before we hear the case, and receiving them an hour ahead of time or less is not helpful. So I just thought I would call to your attention that perhaps we'll be providing some sort of a rule, but asking for exhibit documents from both the appellant and and the city to come in several days in advance of the scheduled hearing.
Understood. I will pass that on our end as well. Pass that on, that news on our end as well.
Thank you.
I will thank you, Mr. Pincus, for that comment.
Apologies. Okay, so moving on to number 13. That would be appeal ending 001020. The address is 1921 South 21st Street, a BM Consulting Services Incorporated. That matter can be marked a moot.
Okay, number 13, 1921 South 21st Street. I've noted it as moot.
Understood. Okay, and then that does it for the matters that were moot. There is one that I had previously, opposing counsel, Ms. Clistorni, who is here on number 8, appeal ending 001429. That is 1428 to 32 Kenilworth Street. The appellant is a Semyon Kupriarov. That matter, my understanding is that Ms. Clistorni was only recently retained as counsel to represent the LLC that is at issue here. And as a result, the city has agreed to not oppose a continuance request from the appellant on that case. So I'm not sure if the board has made a ruling on that yet. Ms. Clistorni, is my representation there accurate?
It is. We had emailed a continuance request yesterday, which is when we were actually only retained. So we would like a continuance of 30 days to get up to speed on the file.
We received that, and I assume this is the first listing for the case. Is that correct, Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Fine. Case will be marked continued and listed at the next available date.
And if, when will that be? Just so I have for my records.
You'll have to check with Mr. Wade.
Yeah, I don't have the date right yet.
Okay.
It
I
may
just
be,
wanna
it may be, it may be more than 30 days.
I understand that. I just want to make sure that it's not a conflict for me.
October 24th?
That's fine.
Okay.
So it'll be on October 24th?
So I apologize, October 26th.
That's fine.
Thank you.
So
Case-
I just, can I be excused then?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yes.
and how do I contact the board for a hearing notice, a new hearing notice?
New hearing notice will be sent out. I added you as the attorney.
I apologize. I appreciate that, Mr. Wade. Thank you so much. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And then, other than the settlement that I believe Ms. Reinhardt can enter into the record, I believe that there were just a few other preliminary matters concerning a number of appellants that are LLCs without attorneys. I'm not sure if the board would like to turn to Ms. Reinhardt first or how it would like to proceed, but that does it for the continuances and the moot matters, at least as far as the city is aware.
Well, I think perhaps Ms. Athanasiadis is. I
Oh,
think I
excuse
saw
me. I apologize.
That she may have some cases that are, at least I haven't noticed that I've received are moot. So I guess we should.
I forgot that there were water cases on the list today. I apologize, board members. I apologize to my
Highly
colleagues for
offended,
that.
Michael, I'm highly offended. Good afternoon, board. There are a few matters. Alexandra Athanasiadis here on behalf of the city for the Philadelphia Water Department. Case number 17 on today's list, HA-2023-001645, 3229 Turner Street. That matter is moot. Case number 18 on today's list, HA-2023-001822, 7021 Elmwood Avenue. That matter is moot. Case number 19, HA-2023-001731, 1135 Jefferson Street. That matter is moot. Case number 20, HA-2023-001535, 10320 Haldeman Avenue. That matter is moot. And case number 21 on today's list, HA 2023 001 576 1947 Christian Street. That matter is moot complied. And the city is prepared to move forward on cases 15 and 16 on today's list.
Very good. So I have noted in my records that cases 17 through 21 are marked moot. Case 21 is marked moot complied. Mr. Rulo has mentioned listed case 13 is moot and case 11 is moot. If there are any parties that are on this hearing right now related to any of these cases and the addresses that were listed, the cases are not going to be heard today. And if you have questions or concerns, please contact the board administrative office. Thank you. Anything? Oh, we have cases and question. Am I right? Next is cases or questions with respect to LLC legal representation or corporations. Is it-
Mr. Pincus, if I may.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Dejanay Davis on behalf of the city of Philadelphia. I wanted to draw the board's attention back to case number 12 that's on the list.
Yes.
Last four 5009, address 4519 through 45 Chestnut Street. As Mr. Ruler has previously stated, there was an agreement entered into with opposing counsel with regards to the appeal number listed for today, as well as appeal number HA-2022-005197. An email was sent out back in August 8th, confirming from opposing counsel that the appeals were withdrawn per the settlement agreement. I think I do see Mr. Wade was CC'd on that August 8th email. I'm just here to confirm that those appeals are in fact withdrawn for the record.
If that's the case, then we don't need to vote or act upon the settlement agreement. I believe we can just proceed to note in the record that the appeal has been withdrawn. And I guess when the other case involving Chestnut Street is scheduled for a hearing, it will be noted as withdrawn. Mr. Wade, I'm looking
Correct.
for you. Correct. So your file shows this case is withdrawn?
Yes.
It will be noted that HA 2022 005-009 4519 to 45 Chestnut Street. Regis Hulsman is withdrawn.
And if possible, could we also just note for the record, per that same agreement, that appeal number HA-2022-005197 for 401 North Broad Street is also withdrawn as it pertains to that same agreement.
I would ask Mr. Wade, because I believe that's scheduled for a later hearing date.
Yes. Oh, I'll have it marked as withdrawn.
Thank you,
Very
Mr.
good.
And that concludes my business. May I be?
Very good. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you. You do the same.
Further issues, Mr. Rulo? Or other
Just-
members from the law department?
Other than on my end, no, other than I think there's a few LLCs that some of the attorneys and I will walk through the board with in terms of council representation issues in that point.
Let's get that addressed, because if there are issues and we can't hear the cases, then we should move along.
Mr. Chairman, may I? My name is Vince Melchiori. I was notified this morning from a client on HA 2023-001493. That would be 2638 Oxford Street, that they just received a notice this morning of this hearing, and they contacted me. I reached out to the city solicitor, and I believe Mr. Rulo had sent me some documents a short while ago. So I really don't know anything about this case. My client's under the impression that all the documents that were necessary were received by the city. So I'm just trying to get a handle on either if that's so, and if we have to proceed, if I believe the city solicitor had no objection if I needed a continuance.
So this is Caroline Curley. I am often confused for Mr. Rulo, but everything Mr. Melchior has stated is correct. If he was essentially stating he was just appointed today or just became aware of this hearing today, then the city has no objection to a continuance on this matter today. It does seem like, I believe this, and the board can confirm, this appellant has two other appeals that are scheduled for the 31st. It might make sense to hear all three of those matters together, if that's correct.
Today is the 17th, I guess. So there's time to send out notice and for this one for the hearing. Is that correct, Mr. Wade?
If that's not too short of a time frame for council.
Well, yeah, I'm also just finding out about those as well. My client was under the impression that everything that was needed to comply with this had been set. Is there
Well,
a way
Mr.
to-
Melchior, if I may, I believe at this point, if there are issues of documents and complying with whatever the violation notice says, Ms. Curley has indicated she's the attorney representing the law department on this matter. You should be in touch with her, and between now and the 31st,
Okay,
you can resolve whatever the issues are. I guess
you.
my only other question is, your client's represented that the notice was received today. I just want to make sure, Mr. Wade, do you have a record when the notice was
Notice
sent?
was sent on July 11th, 2023.
You might want to discuss that with your client. I don't know. about the-
2043 Chatham Drive, Ben Salem.
And I might want to mention that we have questions that we're now noticing that if a client's doing business in Philadelphia, they're supposed to have an agent listed with the city's Department of Licenses and Inspections for their agent in Philadelphia. Now, these are not being written up on the violation notices, so we're not taking any actions on it, but you might want to call that to your client's attention. So this is case number 7, HA 2023-001-483, 2638 West Oxford Avenue. Who is you said, are you representing the individual, or is there an LLC or corporate client?
I was
Mr.
told that
Chair,
it's
Mr. Chair,
HD
this is
Builders.
This for a quick second. Would you read the appeal number back in?
The appeal number is HA 2023-001-493.
Yes. Thank you.
2638 West Oxford Street, Gilad Bergeron, if I'm saying that correctly.
He is one of the principals of the LLC. It's HD Builders LLC, I believe.
So
is
there's
the-
an LLC. Okay,
Yes,
very good. And you'll be here to represent the LLC at the hearing whenever it's August 31st.
it looks that way, yes.
Very good. The case is continued.
Thank you, I appreciate it. May I be excused?
Yes,
Thank you.
Mr. Rulo, I guess you're back on stage.
I believe I am. So I would start with number 1 on the list, appeal ending 001-299, 646 North 32nd Street. The listed appellant is Odelma Gutierrez, doing business as Lawndale Contractor Incorporated. So this is a matter where there is no attorney that has been entered into the record. The party that was issued the licensing violation notice was an LLC, the Lawndale Contractor Incorporated. It was my understanding that this is the first listing of this matter. So I believe I see someone with the name Odelma Gutierrez present. So I believe that we will need to continue that matter so that the entity can obtain a legal representation. I guess I would also ask if we could get an understanding of what Ms. Gutierrez's relationship is to that entity as well.
Very good. I'm looking on my screen. Oh, I see. Okay, Ms. Gutierrez.
Good afternoon, yes.
Good afternoon. Could you raise your right hand, please, and swear, do you swear or affirm that the testimony or statements you are about to give today will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Very good. What is your relationship to Lawndale Contractors, Inc.?
I'm office worker.
I'm sorry? Would you
I'm
repeat?
office worker.
You're an office worker.
Yes,
Who is the, it's a corporate, do you know if it's a corporation?
yes, a corporation.
Are there officers of that corporation?
I'm sorry, say again?
Do you know who the officers of that corporation are?
Yes,
Okay, well, at this point, we're not going to be able to hear this appeal because as a corporation, when there's a violation and an appeal taken, the city code requires that appellant be represented by legal counsel. So you need to communicate to the owners, whoever is your employer,
okay,
that they need to hire legal counsel and for the hearing on this matter, and they should be in touch with Mr. Rulo, who is the attorney from the city handling this matter. Do you know?
Fortunately, that would be me.
Ah, all right. You see Mr. Rulo, who's on the screen right now, RULLO. You want to share your phone number with Ms. Gutierrez?
Email would probably be best. That's that way in case there's another attorney. So my email address is actually just my first name dot last name as spelled on the screen at phila.gov, michael.rulo@phila.gov. And
So
just-
am I correct now? Have I missed anything, Mr. Rulo?
I was just going to note that the entity here, Lawndale Contractor Incorporated, is a registered business that's available on the PA Department of State's website. So it is a registered corporation with the address of 7340 Montour Street, which is the address that was listed on the licensing violation notice. I just did want to make that clear for the record as well.
All right, so please tell your employer that that it's a corporation and they must be represented by counsel. The hearing will be continued and you'll get a new hearing date. They will receive a hearing notice in the mail. In the meantime, their counsel should be in touch with Mr. Rulo.
okay,
Matter
you.
is continued.
Thank you.
Just let me repeat for the record, HA 2023-001 299 646 North 32nd Street. The violation was issued to Lawndale Contractor, Inc. That matter is continued.
Thank you.
Mr. Rulo.
I believe that Ms. Reinhardt is next, and I believe that the next three on the list, numbers 2 through 4, also have an LLC, no attorney issue, but I will turn that over to my esteemed colleague.
Thank you. I was going to raise the same thing. The notices of violation were issued to Myers and Sons Construction LLC, and that is the name that was also presented on the appeal documents.
I am looking as we speak, Patrick Myers. I'm looking at Myers and Sons Construction LLC as the name on the violation notices that were attached to the appeal. Do we have someone here from Myers and Sons Construction LLC? Do we have an individual, Patrick Myers, or someone representing Myers and Sons Construction LLC present at this hearing? I think I said it twice. I didn't hear an answer. As a consequence, what would you ask the board to do, Ms. Reinhardt?
I would
Confirm,
request,
sir.
can I take them individually for each case?
Well, first, I interrupted. Mr. Wade was confirming that service was made. Let's confirm.
Service was sent out on all three on July 11th.
Very good. And Ms. Reinhardt, did you introduce yourself for the record? I don't recall.
I don't believe so. Michelle Reinhardt for the City of Philadelphia, REINHART.
Very good. Proceed, please.
For case number 2, appeal number HA 2023-001382, property address 2051 Mercy Street, appellant name Patrick Myers, doing business as Myers and Sons Construction LLC. I would request that this appeal be dismissed as for failure to appear.
Very good. I will note for the record that the time is 1:54 PM. And my vote is city affirmed and lack of a non-appearance of the appellant.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
Very good. That is case number HA 2023-001382, 2051 Mercy Street, Patrick Myers, doing business as Myers and Sons Construction LLC. Next, Ms. Reinhardt.
Next is number 3. This is appeal number HA 2023-001383, address 2051 Mercy Street, appellant Patrick Myers, doing business as Myers and Sons Construction LLC. I would request that this case be dismissed for non-appearance.
All right, it is 1:55 PM, and I would just note for the record that I have called twice for the appellant or representative of the appellant, and there was no answer. My vote is city affirmed for non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
The vote is city affirmed non-appearance 4-0. Case number HA 2023-001383, 2051 Mercy Street, Patrick Myers, doing business as Myers and Sons Construction LLC. Ms. Myers. Ms. Reinhardt, I'm sorry.
Thank you. The next case I'd like to draw your attention to is number 4, appeal number HA 2023-001384 for 2051 Mercy Street, appellant Patrick Myers, doing business as Myers and Sons Construction LLC. The city requests this be dismissed for lack of appearance.
Okay, Ms. Reinhardt, it's 1:56 PM. My vote is city affirmed non-appearance of the appellant.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
This is case number HA 2023-001384, 2051 Mercy Street, Patrick Myers, doing business as Myers and Sons Construction LLC. All 3 have been voted city affirmed non-appearance. Thank you, Ms. Reinhardt. Anything further?
Yes, for number 5, I believe that this case is actually moot. The only issue raised in the appeal has been taken care of. So I would just like to request that listing.
So you're saying the matter is moot? Is our notes are that it's an LLC, but is there anyone attending today, John Child or some representative of the LLC, which I don't know who the violation notice was written to?
Hi, yes, I'm John Child.
Mr. Childs, the city indicates that the violation or the case is moot. Are you in agreement with that?
Yes, thank you.
Very good. We'll note on the record case number HA 2023-001020, 2143 Christian Street. Appellant is John Child. That case is marked moot.
Thank you.
Very
Have a
good.
nice afternoon. Thank you.
Yes. Ms. Reinhardt.
Next, I just received within the last minute an email from the appellant for number 9. This is appeal number HA 2023-001303, address 2335 Perot Street. Appellant Alan Henderson, doing business as Daedalus Design Builds. I can forward this to Mr. Wade, but the email states that he would like to withdraw the appeal. I'm not sure if you want to circle back to that after Mr. Wade is able to confirm.
I do want him to confirm that. I also have a note that the appellant or should be an LLP, a limited liability partnership. And we customarily ask they have counsel. But I will ask, unless Mr. Wade has already received it.
I haven't received it, but I will forward to the board when I receive it.
Okay, so let's move along and we'll come back to it.
For case number 10, this is appeal number HA 2023-001379, address 277 East 52nd Street. Appellant Melvin Brown, doing business as Third Generation Design and Construction LLC. We have been in contact before this hearing. I believe he is here as well, and has confirmed that he does not have an attorney. And we would request a continuance so that they have an opportunity to get an attorney.
Is there a Melvin Brown in
Yes, sir.
attendance?
I'm here.
Mr. Brown, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you will give today will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Are you, you are Melvin Brown and you are doing business as Third Generation Design and Construction LLC?
That is correct. Yes.
The case, I guess I should make sure, I haven't been doing this, but Mr. Wade, would you just confirm the case that we're hearing?
I'm sorry. This was case 10, hearing appeal HA 2023-001379, 277 East 52nd Street.
Very good.
It's actually South 52nd Street.
South 52nd Street,
Yes.
not east. Okay. Mr. Brown, are you a principal in Third Generation Design and Construction?
Yes, I am.
Okay, because you're an LLC and it is noted, it is stated when you receive the violation notice that you should have an attorney if you're a corporation or a corporate entity. You may have missed that, but the city apparently is willing to allow the matter to continue so that you can have counsel represent you, and perhaps your attorney can contact Ms. Reinhardt and be able to resolve the matter without the need for a hearing.
I would appreciate the opportunity to do that.
Ms. Reinhardt, is that okay? We'll continue the matter.
It is, thank you.
All right, case number HA 2023-001379. The correct address, I believe, is 277 South 52nd Street. Melvin Brown, doing business as Third Generation Design and Construction LLC, will be continued.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Okay, Ms. Reinhardt?
Other than the case that I believe we need to circle back to with Mr. Wade's confirmation, that concludes my notes for this list.
Well, I do have a case listed for HA 2022-003961, 1802 West Tioga. That is also, I don't know whether it's a Jonathan Kozak. Is that a case we're ready to proceed with?
This is Michael Rouleau again on behalf of the city. Yes, that was going to be the first case that I was going to call today.
All right.
I see that there is the Allied Electrical Contractors, but the violation in this instance was issued to the individual named Jonathan Kozak. And Jonathan Kozak is also the contractor that is listed on the permit, which is one of the city's exhibits in this matter. So I'm not sure if you had questions about whether or not this is an LLC issue, but in this instance, everything was listed directly to the individual Jonathan Kozak.
So therefore you would be prepared to proceed.
We are prepared to proceed.
And I see Mr. Kozak on the screen. So let us wait one matter. moment, and I guess the question is, case number 9, have you received the withdrawal request, Mr. Wade? Because that would enable Ms. Reinhardt to take the rest of the afternoon to attend to other business.
The exact wordage of the email is, Ms. Reinhardt, I'm abandoning my appeal for this case and will pay the fine. I'll forward that will be forwarded to the full board.
I would take the word abandoning to mean the same as withdrawing. If the city concurs.
I don't object to that interpretation. I think it's the same.
All right, and the individual has indicated that they will pay the fine, but that's a matter between you and the department and the appellant, correct?
Yes.
All right, so we will mark case number HA 2023-001-303, 2335, either Perot Street or Perrott Street. Alan Henderson doing business as Daedalus Design Build as withdrawn. Correct?
Yes, I believe so. That-
Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, is that withdrawn or we have to vote on the appeal? On
I'm
the
sorry.
fine?
You didn't come through clearly to me, Mr. Pettit.
Do we have to, is that withdrawn or do we have to vote on the fine?
I'll ask counsel. I don't know that we do.
I don't believe we do. No, if the matter is withdrawn, that's all we have to indicate it as. It does not require a board vote.
Okay,
Very good. So noted as withdrawn for case number 9. So that leaves 4 cases for us to proceed with.
Chairman Pincus, before
Yes.
we proceed, if I could just bring a matter to the board's attention, regarding one of the appeals, case number 16, HA 2023-001-864, 3410 Aldine or Aldine Street. I just want to inquire, bring it to the board's attention as the deed lists a Joseph Moody and a Dorothy Moody as owners of the property, and I understand that Mr. Francis Jones filed the appeal. I don't know if the board has received any power of attorney documentation or if the board is comfortable proceeding. I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention.
Well, the answer is it was noted prior to the hearing by our counsel that this is a question or an issue. So why don't we resolve that? Because if a power of attorney is required, I would want that to be submitted to counsel for the city before we proceed. Is there someone attending today with respect to, I guess, Mr. Wade, would you call the case, please?
Case number 16, hearing appeal HA 2023-001864, 3410 Aldine Street, Francis Jones doing business as and co-owner Dorothy Moody.
Or care of Dorothy Moody. Is there someone here involving this property or these individuals? Francis Jones or Dorothy Moody? Is there someone here representing these parties? If so, please speak up or raise your hand. If you've been muted, the city can unmute you. And you
There's
could,
a Robert Moody trying to attract your attention, Mr. Chair.
okay. Mr. Wade, do you see a Robert Moody on the screen? Can you unmute them? Him?
Try.
Hello,
Yes, is it,
I'm
this-
Francis Jones.
This case was heard May 11th, 2023 and continued for a power of attorney.
I have the power of attorney. That's how I got this work done, because she's bedbound. So I had to do this before the water department even touched it.
Before you start speaking, would you identify yourself and I'll have to swear you in?
Okay, I'm Francis Jones.
And would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony or statements you give today will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do, sir.
All right, so you have a power of attorney from Dorothy Moody, who is one of the property owners in this matter.
Yes, sir.
Have you submitted it to the city, which was?
Yes, that's how I got the work done. I submitted it to the water department who did the work.
Just a moment, Ms. Athanasiadis.
Chairman, my understanding is the work that was done relates to another notice of defect that they had received over a year ago in 2022. So it's not for the issue we're here for today.
But
And I don't have the actual power of attorney indicating Mr. Jones has that authority. There is documentation that indicates POA on the loan that was received over a year ago, but nothing, not the actual documentation.
Is this something that between you and Mr. Jones, you should be exchanging communications and or documents before we hear the matter?
I can reach out to Mr. Jones. I mean, I'm happy to proceed if he's representing as such, if the board is satisfied at his representation that he has the power of attorney. I just know for the other matter we're here for, that was an issue at our last hearing. Because someone else filed an appeal on behalf of someone else and the board had requested the power of attorney.
Well, customarily, we like to have the city look at that power of attorney and feel satisfied that that person, that's a valid power of attorney. And now maybe it can be sent to you and we'll hear the other case and you can look at it and we'll call.
That would be fine.
Mr. Jones, did you hear my suggestion?
yes, but I have one question.
Go ahead.
Okay, she's talking about the previous work in 22. That's what the intent of this notice of intent of shut off I got was the work failed from that job. And I got a note of intent. It's the
Ms.
same job.
Athanasiadis, would you please clarify?
I'm gonna,
I can put them in a breakout room if you want to discuss
yeah,
or.
Yeah.
that's an inaccurate statement, Chairman
Oh.
Pickens.
All right, so let's do this. Mr. Wade has offered for you and Mr. Jones to go into a breakout room. Do you know how to do that, Mr. Jones?
Not really, but I got my nephew here. I think I could get coached through it.
Okay, well, you'll get a notice. You'll see on the bottom of your screen, you can go to a breakout room. And then I would suggest you and Ms. Athanasiadis talk about this and then come back and tell us how you've decided to proceed.
Okay.
Okay, and then if we need to, we can discuss with our council whether we should require the city to pass upon the power of attorney, but my inclination is to say that we should. All right. Thank you. That puts us, as far as I can tell, back to to case number 6.
Yes, good afternoon again, board members. This is Michael Rulo, RULLO, on behalf of the city of Philadelphia.
Let Mr. Wade call the case, please.
Oh, pardon.
Case number
That's
6,
fine.
hearing appeal HA 2022-003-961. 1802 West Tioga is the listed address. I don't believe that's correct, I believe. But the appellant is Jonathan Kozak, Allied Electrical Contractor. There's
All right.
the address on his appeal is hard to decipher.
I see. Okay, you're right. I noticed that on the appeal. I guess the first thing is, Mr. Kozak, I believe you're present.
Yes.
Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give today will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Very good. We'll have this city present the matter. I guess first we need to confirm the violation notice.
I can,
Does-
I believe
I
I
guess
can,
Mr. Rulo, right?
yes, I believe I can. So this is a licensing violation case, meaning that the the property address is the property at which the violation was identified, which here, as indicated in Exhibit A that the city submitted, is 1802 West Tioga Street. And in this instance, the citation was for work being performed without the appropriate subcontractor licenses.
Very good. Do you want to present city's witnesses and testimony?
Yes, I would request the city would call Inspector Jose Figueredo.
Mr. Figueredo,
Yes,
am I saying your name correctly?
yes, sir.
Very good. Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give today will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Very good. Mr. Rulo.
Thank you. Inspector, could you please describe what your role is with the Department of Licenses and Inspections?
May I just suggest before he proceed that he spell his last name so that the court reporter can have it correctly?
My last name is spelled Figueredo.
Very good. Proceed with answering Mr. Rulo's question.
And presently I'm the manager with the Audits and Investigations Unit.
And what do those roles include?
I oversee the inspection staff that goes out and performs audits and inspections at different sites.
And so that includes instances where audits and investigations cites contractors for violations arising from work performed under permits or without permits. Is that correct?
That is correct. That would be part of it.
And you're familiar with a licensing violation notice ending in 081491 concerning 1802 West Tioga Street, correct?
Yes, I am.
And the individual that was cited in that instance was a person named Jonathan Kozak. Is that correct?
Correct.
With the board's permission, I'd like to share my screen.
Please.
Can you see what's been displayed on the screen as City Exhibit A?
Yes.
Okay. Moving down to the first page, let me see if I can zoom in here a little bit better for folks. Can you see this clearly?
Yes.
And can you read it clearly? You don't have to read it. That was just a question.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, I can.
Okay. And so what is this document?
That's a license violation notice that we send out after issuing violations.
And this is the licensing violation notice that was issued to Mr. Jonathan Kozak for that property located at 1802 West Tioga Street, correct?
Correct.
And you're familiar with the records regarding this case file from LNI's database?
Yes, I am.
Moving down to the substance of this violation, can you explain to the board what the violation was that was issued here?
So an inspector went out on June 30th of last year, 2022, and identified there were workers on site that were not employed directly by Jonathan Kozak, and so they would be 1099 employees. And in that case, they weren't licensed, and they were essentially functioning as subcontractors since they weren't employed by Jonathan Kozak. And being unlicensed, we issued a violation.
And so I want to move down now to what is marked as City Exhibit B as in boy. This is a notice of electrical permit. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And this is the permit that had been pulled by Mr. Kozak for the work performed at that property, correct?
That is correct.
And it was list the contractor as himself, Jonathan Kozak, rather than any entity such as what has been referenced as an Allied Electrical Contractors, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and so the fact that this permit was obtained in the name of the individual rather than by any entity, that's why that violation ended up being issued.
Right. This permit was issued to the license number, and that's the name that's attached to it. License number 057781.
And so just to connect the dots here, so we have this permit that was issued to the individual contractor rather than an entity. But when the department went out to conduct an inspection, it found individuals other than Mr. Kozak performing work, electrical work at the site, and they did not have the appropriate subcontractor licenses. Is that
That's
correct?
correct. Yeah, that's correct.
And so this was specifically for the electrical work that was performed at this structure.
Correct.
And I want to go down to the next photograph here. So this is the second page of that. We're going to move to City Exhibit C. This is a picture of that property, correct?
Yes,
Okay, so this was a fairly significant structure, a new construction that had electrical work done throughout the property, correct?
yes,
Okay, and this is a photograph of that property taken by the inspector on or about the date of that inspection, correct?
correct.
Okay. Seconds. That does it for my questions for the inspector.
Very good. Mr. Kozak, you've been sworn in. Do you have any questions? You can tell and explain your side of what these violations are about, but do you have any questions with respect to the testimony and statements made by Mr. Figueredo that you want to question him on?
No, I do not.
Very good. Well, then hold on a moment, please. Mr. Rulo, did you conclude the presentation of the city?
Double checking one thing here.
Do you have any other witnesses or additional?
I do not have
evidence?
any, that concludes the city's presentation of its case. We just request time for a brief closing and any cross-examination of the appellant if necessary.
Very good. Mr. Kozak, it's your opportunity to explain what happened.
Yes, so I don't know why it's coming up Jonathan Kozak on L&I. It should be coming up Allied Electrical Contractors. I own Allied Electrical Contractors, and all the guys, all my employees are W-2 employees. Like, they all get W-2s. I have all the proper documentation, insurance. We're licensed in Jersey and Philadelphia. We do both sides, Jersey and Philly. And, you know, I don't know where this, you know, mix up. I see where the mix up is. It says Jonathan Kozak, which it should state Allied Electrical Contractors.
Well, let me ask you a question, Mr. Kozak. Is Allied Electrical Contractors an LLC or a corporation?
It is an LLC.
Have you, between the date you received the violation notice and today's hearing, made any effort to contact the city's Department of Licenses and Inspections or Mr. Rulo?
Yes,
whose
but we contacted Robert Parisi. Robert Parisi, we let him know what was going on. He told me that, you know, just appeal it and go through the steps.
And since you contacted him and appealed it, have you had made any further efforts to discuss this matter or resolve it with the city?
Everything's updated on the L&I website. I just don't know why it's coming up my name. Like, when I passed my license for you know, Philadelphia, it, you know, we gave them all our information.
Well, that's fine. I mean, there obviously is there is obviously an issue of whatever you did when you filed the original application for an electrical permit. Now, maybe this can be resolved. At this point in time, it would appear that whatever happened, your name is the name of record, and
Right, and I see where the
unfortunately,
mix-up is, yeah.
so let me before we hear, Mr. Rulo, do you have anything further to add at this point?
I would just, I guess, the only record of a permit that the city is aware of at this time is that there was a permit pool that lists, and it's what has been displayed as City Exhibit B, that lists the contractor as Jonathan Kozak. On that document, I do not believe that there is any reference made to Allied Electrical contractors at any point in that document. So as far as I'm aware, there is no new permit that has been issued. And I can ask Inspector Figueredo if he's aware of any that you know, has superseded this electrical permit that was issued in the name of Allied Electrical Contractors. But that's essentially where we are in terms of the city's records. I understand, and I'm not, you know, I hope Mr. Kozak understands. I'm just saying that the The city's records are reflecting that there was a permit applied for in the name of the individual and not in the name of this entity. And candidly, until this conversation here today, it was even unclear to me that there was actually an LLC rather than a doing business as that existed.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Mr. Pettit.
Mr. Kozak,
Yes.
you or anybody from Allied, there was a mention about 1099 employees. Are you paying city wage checks?
Yes.
You or Allied?
Allied.
So all the employees are paying city wage checks?
Yeah, yes, we have a payroll company, all our payroll, our payroll company handles all that.
Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr.
Kozak,
Washington.
When did you hire the city financial company to handle all your records? When were they hired?
When I started my company,
And when was that?
2015, I believe.
Because you made mention that all your employees have W-2 forms. You issue W-2 forms, and my question to you would be, why have you submitted that information to the city back in 2022?
Well, this is 22 statements. I have
Why didn't you submit that information to the city?
they never requested it. They never,
Well, all right, all right.
nothing was ever requested.
Well, Mr. Kozak, this sounds like the kind of matter. I'm sorry, am I interrupting, Mr. Washington?
No, continue, Mr. Chair.
It sounds like the kind of matter that could have been resolved with a little bit of extra outreach on your part. I don't know whether Mr. Rulo or Mr. Figueroa need to chat. I'm reluctant. It sounds like you're a licensed, the Allied is a licensed contractor, and there might be some way to resolve it short of, we could affirm the city, but.
Yeah, well, that's why, we're not looking to, we're just trying to clear this up.
No, I understand. Maybe.
Mr. Kozak, you
If
have
I-
to pay- your employees have to pay city wage check to the city.
Correct.
I don't think they are.
You don't think they are? We could show you all the payroll, well, whatever you guys need documentation wise from our payroll company. So, we can
You
get,
can show that to Mr. Rulo.
okay.
Mr. Rulo.
You have an email address, you can email that over.
Well, so and Mr. Kozak, I really appreciate your candidness here. But I guess the point that I guess the city's at here is that we're learning about this as we're speaking here. I have none of these documents in front of me, and the only record that I have right now, with due respect to Mr. Kozak, is that there was a permit in the name of an individual that does not mention this entity. There was an inspector that went out to the property and found that there was others working under this permit other than that individual, and the violation was issued. So I understand what's being said here, and I understand that, but I have to go off the record that I have here.
Okay.
And currently, I don't have anything else in front of me to suggest otherwise. So I guess
All right.
the first thing
All
is,
right.
the first
Let's
thing is-
hold on for a minute.
That's
I'd like to ask the board if we can have a breakout and have a conversation, please. We'll go off the record and we'll go into a breakout room. Ms. Robb, are you with us? Very good. Let us go back on the record. We've received a communication indicating that a settlement has been arrived at. Mr. Rulo?
Yes, your break afforded us that opportunity, so I'm happy to report that after speaking with Mr. Kozak, we've reached a agreement whereby the violation the appeal will be a city affirmed, but with a $200 rather than $1,000 fine being issued here.
Very good. Is that, are the terms that Mr. Rulo announced acceptable, or agreeable, Mr. Kozak?
Yes.
Very good. We can then proceed to vote the matter.
What was that number? What was the number?
$200.
Thank you.
My vote is city affirmed with a $200 fine per agreement.
City affirmed with
Uh,
the $200 agreement.
$200 fine, Mr. Pettit, and then by
Not
agreement.
the $200 agreement. City affirmed without the $200 agreement.
Okay,
City affirm.
City affirmed per agreement, $200 fine.
so this is a little unusual in my experience on the board or as acting chair. We have we have everyone affirming the decision of the city, but not everyone agreeing to the $200 fine. We have a split vote, and I believe when it's a split vote, it goes as a majority vote, which means that that the fine is agreed upon by the board. Am I right, Mr. McSherry?
If I could just hear the votes one more time. I just want to confirm that I'm correct here. So it's
I concur with the chairman.
I concur with the chairman. That should fix it, right?
So the answer
it
is,
should, and that would be a majority, yes.
all right, so the answer is the city has been affirmed by a vote of 4-0. And because 2 of the 4 members present voted to accept the settlement agreement terms and the $200 fine, that will take the day or rule the day because it's 2 of the 4 members. And that'll conclude this matter. Thank you,
Board members, and that completes my business. May I please be excused?
Surely. Thank you, Mr. Kozak.
Thank you. Thank you.
I believe that takes us to
Just to
case
confirm,
number-
that was a unanimous, at the end, everyone agreed on the same vote.
No, I don't think you'd call it unanimous. I think
Yes,
They
Yes.
changed their vote. Okay, thank you.
yes, we concur with the chairman.
Yeah.
okay. Mr. Wade,
Case number, that brings us to case number 14, hearing appeal, HA 2023-001141, 2347 North Sixth Street, Thomas Yule.
Ms. Athanasiadis, is Mr. Yule here?
This is an AIU appeal.
Who is counsel on this case?
This is Caroline Curley for the city of Philadelphia.
I apologize. Is Mr. Thomas Yule present? I thought I saw someone. I do see. Would you unmute yourself, please?
How's that? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
There you go.
Mr. Yule, would you please raise your right hand?
Right in.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give today will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Very good. Ms. Curley?
Yes, board, this is a licensing violation notice that was issued against Thomas Yule for 5 workers who were working without their OSHA cards, proper identification as required by the department. So 5 violations were issued for each individual worker. The city will have 1 witness today, AIU Inspector Jose Figueredo.
Very good. Just give me a moment here and let me put it up. I can get to it. Okay. Well, Mr. Figueredo, you've already been sworn in. I just have to see you on the screen. There you are. You've been sworn in. We can proceed.
Okay, with the board's permission, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Just change that. Okay, can Inspector Figueredo, can you see that my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, and Inspector, you've previously testified, but can you identify again who your employer is?
License and inspection, specifically the audits and investigations unit.
And what's your title for audits and investigations?
I'm the manager.
Okay, and what do you do? What are your job duties?
So I oversee the inspection staff in conducting license investigations.
And do you also have the opportunity to review department records?
I do.
And are you familiar with the property at 2347 North Sixth Street?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and did you have the opportunity to review the department's documents for this property?
Yes, I did.
And does that include the violation we're going to discuss today, number CF 2023-014470?
Correct.
Okay, and board, as City Exhibit 1, I'm showing a copy of the appellant's appeal. Under the basis for their appeal, they do state that there was a job on February 22nd, 2023. The inspector requested cards, but 4 men were in a ditch and one showed his card. He requested we email them, which was done. And the violations were issued the next day. So essentially, you know, board, I just do want to make clear that these are same day violations. They are violations that are issued the moment they happen. There is no time to correct for these violations. And I did just want to emphasize that for the board and essentially highlight that the appellant, Mr. Yule, has admitted that when the individuals went out there, they did not have, at least 4 individuals did not have their card, has been his assertion. So he's admitted at least 4 of these violations on the face of his appeal. Now, Inspector, what am I showing in City Exhibit 2?
That would be the violation notice.
And this was the violation notice sent to Mr. Yule?
Correct.
And what's the date of that violation notice?
February 24th, 2023.
Okay, and it indicates underneath that that an investigation took place on February 23rd, 2023.
Correct.
And what's the violation that's cited in this notice?
Visited the site. There were 5 workers on site without ID or OSHA cards.
Okay, and there are essentially, I'm counting 3 on this page, on page 1, and 2 violations on page 2. That's all the same violation, but for 5 different workers. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Give them a chance.
And moving to City Exhibit 3, I'm just gonna scroll out a little bit. Can you see this photo?
Yes,
And what are we looking at here?
that's the work site.
So this is the property in question that we're talking about.
Correct.
Okay. And can you describe it for me? What's going on in this photo?
So there's what I believe is it's a small excavator, and there's a pile of dirt from where they were digging for the plumbing work.
Okay. So when the when the inspector went out, there was active work occurring,
Yes,
and you can see there's an individual in this truck.
right. Next, yes.
Okay. Moving on to City Exhibit 4. What are we looking at here?
Just a close up where we could see 3 of the other workers.
So there's one individual with a black hoodie, one individual with a green hat, gray hoodie, one individual with a blue hoodie. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did any of these 3 individuals provide an OSHA card to the inspector?
They did not.
Okay. And moving on to City Exhibit 5, we now have a different individual in a black hoodie, black overalls, and another individual, black hoodie.
Just a
brown suit.
moment, please. Mr. Yule, if you're speaking, you'll have to mute yourself because it's interrupting the testimony.
Sorry about that.
Is that correct, Inspector?
Yes, it is.
And did these 2 individuals provide an OSHA card?
They did not.
Okay. I think this one's the same person as that person. Okay. And the last person, this is now in a gray hoodie, blue jeans. Did this person provide an OSHA card?
No.
Can you explain for the board what the importance is, what the code requires in regards to workers performing work and holding an OSHA card?
Yeah, the city requires that they have
Okay, and
either
yes,
OSHA
yes.
10 or OSHA 30. It has to be within 5 years. And they are required to have some proof of certification on them.
And the day of the inspection, I'm just gonna stop sharing. The day of the inspection, did any of the individuals that the department interviewed provide a card?
No.
And broadly, what's the purpose of for workers to carry a card?
So OSHA 10 or OSHA 30 training is basically about work site safety. And so for the city, it's our way of ensuring that the workers that are working at construction sites are familiar with safe practices.
Okay, so are they required to hold them at all times that they're doing work?
They are required to have something with them, yes.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily have to be the OSHA card, but a certification, something that would indicate that they've had the training.
Okay, and no paperwork of any kind or card was provided that day?
No.
Okay. I have nothing further, board. I would just ask for the admissions of city exhibit 1 through 6.
Very good. We'll admit the exhibits. Mr. Yule, am I saying your name correctly?
Yes, Yule.
Mr. Yule, if you have, you can present your testimony or your explanation of what happened, but do you have any questions for the witness, Mr. Figueredo, with respect to the statements he gave just a few moments ago?
Yeah, well, actually, one of my guys did show his card. And that was
Well, no, is that a question? You can testify and provide statements, but the question is, do you have a question for Mr. Figueredo?
No.
Well, I'll even give you a benefit here, Mr. Figueredo, because it's, I believe, stated in his appeal. Let me just see here. Did you have any record that any of the people who were interviewed by the inspector presented an OSHA card?
To my knowledge, no. There are 5 violations for 5 workers without OSHA.
Very good. Thank you. Ms. Curley, do you have any additional witnesses?
No, thank you, board.
Mr. Yule?
Okay, just that my one guy, Clay Fitzgerald, did show his one to the inspector. He was one outside the ditch. The other guys were in the ditch. If you notice, one of the pictures, you see one of the guy's back pocket. It's muddy and it's wet. The reason why they don't carry their cards with them or their wallets, because of the mud and the dirt that gets into their pockets and gets into all their identification cards. That's the reason why they don't carry it with them while they're on the job. And if they do have their card, but it's in their car. And CJ, that's Clay Fitzgerald, he was closest to his truck, so he got his card out and showed them. And then the inspector gave us a chance to, he said, by the end of the day or the next day, please send in the copy of their OSHA cards, and which we did.
So that you attached to your appeal copies of the cards that were sent in the next day, is that correct?
Correct.
Were you present at the time the inspector from the department went out to the work site?
I was there. I was down in the basement at the time. My son was was in the hole, and CJ, Clay Fitzgerald, was talking to the inspector.
So
And he was there a matter of 10 minutes or so.
I'm just gonna lodge an objection to this testimony. Anything about what the inspector said, since that is hearsay, since he wasn't who he said it to.
The objection's overruled, but I understand. One further question, Mr. Yule, if the employees carry their cards in the car, did they ask, or, well, I guess you weren't there, so you couldn't hear their statements, but you're saying that you believe they had them in their cars?
Yes, and
Okay.
like I said, we did send them into them, but they were in the process. They were in the holes, if you notice in the pictures.
Yes, very good.
Okay.
All
And
right.
like I said, the reason why they don't carry with them and their wallets is we're dealing with mud all the time and dirt.
We understand. I heard your testimony. Is there
Okay.
anything
One-
further you'd like to ask or any further add, or is there any questions from the board?
That's all.
I just have one question, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Washington.
Were you there at the job site when the inspector showed?
I was in the basement.
So you didn't see the inspector? You didn't talk?
No,
to
I
the inspector?
did not.
So you really can't testify to what happened, what they showed, what was in the car, what might have been in their back pocket. Would you agree with that? Since you was in the basement?
Well, the inspector gave us a chance to send the
I'm
paperwork in.
asking about it was just testified that it's a same day violation. That when
Right.
you show up on the job site, they supposed to produce them at that time, not the next day, not send them in the next day. I mean, you know the rules, and the rules is they're supposed to have them on them at all time.
But
And
that was the request of the inspector. He even left us a card and his email address.
I'm just gonna again object since
Cause,
there's no testimony that
Hold on a
Mr. Yule
moment.
actually spoke to the
okay.
inspector.
Your objection is sustained
Thank you.
in this instance.
Mr.
Anything
no
further,
more
Mr.
questions. No more questions.
Okay, any other members with questions? Ms. Curley, do you have any recross examination?
No recross board.
I'd like to ask that the board have 5 minutes or so for executive session. We'll go
Just
off the record.
Prior to executive session, do you want closing?
I guess let's hear closing. Okay. Before we go off the record. Yes.
Do you want me to go first or the appellant?
Well, Mr. Yule, do you have any further argument to make? We've heard your testimony. Do you have any further argument to make why the city's violation should not be affirmed?
No, that is all. That's all.
Thank you. Ms. Curley.
Just very briefly, board, the testimony here today was that there were at least 5 individuals who were presented to the inspector. None of those individuals carried their OSHA card as required. There were confirmed through visual pictures 5 individuals there, and the violations were issued. Those are same day violations. They have to be on site. There was no testimony presented that no credible testimony should be presented that the individuals went to their cars. If they had them on their possession, they should have provided them as they're required. And that's it.
Very good. Give us a few minutes to go off the record into executive session and we'll come back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good. Ms. Robb, the next time we do this as a courtesy to you, I'll give you a time frame so that you're not sitting there waiting for us to return, okay? If we do this again. In the meantime, we're back on record. We're prepared. We've heard closing argument, and we're prepared to vote the case.
Mr. Chairman, I lost connectivity, so I cannot vote on this case.
All right, so you'll be recused from voting.
Yes, I will.
That leaves still 3 members of the board present, myself, Mr. Patton, Mr. Washington. We can proceed as a panel as provided under the city charter and vote the case. My vote is city affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed. The vote is unanimous. It's city affirmed. That concludes this matter. Thank you very much.
That brings us to case number 15. Hearing appeal HA 2023-000135. 1529 Porter Street, Rita Marrero.
Just before I proceed with the next case, Mr. Yule, you're still on the video. Just a moment. I want to make sure you heard the decision that was announced by the board. You're muted. Mr. Yule, you're muted. Just a moment.
What's that again?
You heard the decision of the board, Mr. Yule?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Well, that's what I wanted to make sure. The board's decision is to affirm the violation notice that was issued by a vote of 3-0. You do have certain appellate rights. If you want to pursue the matter further, you may contact the board's administration. The number is written on your appeal notice, okay?
So we have to pay the $5,000?
The city's violation notices have been affirmed. If you need to clarify what your obligations are, you may want to contact the city board's administration office. Their number is on your notice of appeal. Okay,
Yep.
very good. Thank you. Mr. Wade, you did call the next case. So I believe that's Ms. Athanasiadis's case.
It is.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
could
Mr.
you
Washington.
Could you place us back into full board?
Sure, just a moment. It's 3:05. Let's take a 5-minute break.
No, what I was saying was Mr. Pettit is still recused until you bring him back on.
I know, I'm back.
That's what I'm saying. I needed you to hear you say that.
I'm back.
I
I just
Okay,
excuse myself for the vote.
We're ready to proceed if the city is ready.
Yeah,
Yes.
Chairman Pincus, if I may, just in respect of Mr. For case number, I know Mr. Wade has called case number 15. If we could quickly for case number 16, so that Mr. Jones isn't left waiting on the line. We did have an opportunity to speak in the breakout room. And Mr. Jones, if you can unmute yourself, I will just represent to the board what we discussed. We would be requesting Chairman.
Wait one moment. Let Mr. Jones unmute himself.
Okay, I'm
And I
here.
believe he was
This is-
sworn in, so Ms. Athanasiadis is about to tell us what was agreed, I believe, between the two of you, or between the two of you.
Yes, Chairman Pincus, what we would be requesting is a 60-day continuance. And during that time, Mr. Jones is going to be providing a power of attorney. And we've discussed, he will be applying for a health loan during that time frame. So we would just be asking for continuance to make sure that all gets squared away. And then he'll decide at that point, whether he wants to pursue his appeal, withdraw his appeal, whatever, his pleasure is. But we would be asking for continuance at this time.
Very good. Is that your understanding, Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir.
And you're speaking in behalf of the Moody's, who are the people who have been cited in the violation notice, is that correct?
Yes,
And they've heard that and agree and understand?
yes.
Very good.
Should
All
there be a
right.
note- Should there be a note for a POA if necessary?
You can make a note that there should be a POA, which could be POA short for power of attorney.
I just sent it to her.
Well, all right, that's fine. You have to present it to the city. The city has to review it and say it's acceptable. And if they want to provide a copy for the benefit of the board, they can. But the city is the one who lets us know that they believe you have the authority to represent the property owner at the hearing.
That's okay.
All right.
Yep.
Very good. We'll mark the case as continued. That's case number 16, HA 2023-001-864-3410. It's either Aldine or Aldine Street.
Aldine.
Aldine Street. Francis Jones with a power of attorney for Dorothy Moody. The case is marked continued. All right, we
Here,
can
are we
return.
marking it continued or 60-day continued?
Well, we'll mark it continued. I believe Mr. Wade can put in his record a time frame for the continuance. Is that okay?
I thought we discussed 60 days.
60 days is fine. We'll note it as 60 days and hopefully that'll work fine. All right.
May I be dismissed?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
That is, I guess, again, we have one case left. Mr. Wade has already called that case.
Yes.
That's, all right, my record shows Rita Miro, is that the appellant?
It is Jeff Fraley, Chairman Pincus, and he has provided power of attorney documentation that was forwarded to the city, and that was also shared with board council.
And do you believe that the power of attorney was acceptable and you're prepared to accept Mr. Fraley being the representative in this matter?
Yes.
I'll just ask Mr. McSherry to comment.
Yes, I confirm that this matter was, the power of attorney was presented to myself. That we did previously discuss it and discuss the state's position, and I have no objection with the power of attorney as presented either.
Very good, very good. I would just note as we proceed, because on my list of cases, this appears to be the last matter that we intend to hear today, that I see an Odessa Walker still on the screen, and I see an Atusa Shiraz, who is listed with the City of Philadelphia email address. So I assume that's someone from the city, but I don't know whether Ms. Walker is here on this matter. She
Yes.
is?
Chairman Pincus, Ms. Shiraz is an attorney within the unit. She's here for observation. Ms. Odessa Walker will be the city's witness in this matter.
Very good, very good. Please proceed. I guess Mr. Fraley, let me ask you to raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give today will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth, and that you are the representative for the owner of the property at 5029 Porter Street?
I do.
And you are the representative for the owner?
Yes, I am.
Very good, thank you. Ms. Athanasiadis?
Yes, Chairman, this matters before the board. As indicated, a notice of defect was served back on December 15, 2022 by the Philadelphia Water Department to property owner Rita Miro. The deed lists Rita Miro, Vito Miro, and Elizabeth Miro as owners of the property. Mr. Fraley has provided a power of attorney document, and this matter was last before the board back on May 11, 2023. The Philadelphia Water Department was on site as a result of a residential call-in by Mr. Fraley relating to a sewer backup. While they were on site, it was discovered that the property lacked a vent pipe and vent box. Re-inspections were performed on December 30th, 2022, January 24th, 2023, and April 24th, 2023, and no repairs are made. It is also important to note that the appeal acknowledges that the vent pipe and vent box are missing. The city will be calling Odessa Walker Frazier as its witness in this matter.
Very good. Could you give me, all right, well, I guess Ms. Walker will testify to the dates that you just
Yes.
recited. Very good. Ms. Walker, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Very good.
Ms.
Please
Walker,
proceed.
Ms. Walker, can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Odessa Walker Frazier, Odessa Walker, Walker, Frazier, Frazier.
And by whom are you employed?
The City of Philadelphia Water Department,
And how long have you been an employee of the Philadelphia Water Department?
25 years.
Okay. And what is your current job title, ma'am?
I am a water customer, wait a minute, let me get it right. Water Customer Field Service Supervisor.
Okay, and how long have you been a water customer field service supervisor?
Since 2015.
And what are your duties as a supervisor in the customer field services unit?
I supervise inspectors who go out and they take radio calls, they re-inspect these notices of defects to see if the repairs are made. They inspect new water lines that's being put in. They As they take customer complaints from customer information, they get called out complaints from customers that they go to and doing inspections, and if necessary, they write notices of defects. I do time, I write, what's those things, evaluations. I do abatement jobs, plumbing and cleaning.
Okay.
That's
And
just.
I'm sorry, is there more?
No, that's it.
And are you familiar with the property of 1529 Porter Street?
Yes, I am.
Okay, now you were not the inspector or the crew chief who issued the notice of defect, is that correct?
Correct.
But you are familiar, as you indicated, with the issuance of these notice of defects during your years and experience at the Philadelphia Water Department.
Correct.
And did you review records pertaining to 1529 Porter Street?
Yes.
Okay. And was one of the records the notice of defect that was issued?
Yes.
Okay, now I'm just gonna share my screen with you. Let me know when you see my screen, Ms. Walker.
We're not seeing your screen either at the moment.
No?
There it is. It just
Okay.
came up.
Perfect. Okay, and you see my screen rather, Ms. Walker Frazier?
Yes, I do.
And what is this that I'm showing you?
You are showing me the notice of defect.
Okay, and is this notice of defect a record that's made and kept in the ordinary course and scope of PWD business?
Yes.
Okay, and when is a notice of plumbing defect created?
It's created, by, I guess, whatever inspector, or just, in this case, this is sewer maintenance that was called out, or they went out and they found that they didn't have a vent pipe and, vent box that was visible, so they wrote them a notice of defect.
And this document, as you indicated, sewer maintenance is made by someone who has personal knowledge and who records the events and the regular course and scope of doing their job?
Correct.
And in this particular case, would that be C. Alexander and R. Thornton?
Correct.
Okay. And I'm gonna direct your attention, ma'am, to this middle comment section. And can you read for the record what that says?
It says non-visible vent box and vent pipe.
Okay. And who was this notice written out to?
Rita Merrill, 211 Bitmore Drive, Colonial Heights.
And why is it important that these notices are sent to property owners?
Because they're the responsible party.
Okay, and why is it important for a property to have a vent box?
Well, vent box is the top that goes onto the vent pipe that connects to the curb trap, that connects to the lateral and takes the sewage out to the sewer. And it also, the vent pipe and the vent box, which has little holes in it, it allows the sewage to breathe, the air of the sewage to breathe, so that it don't back up into the house and cause a sewer gas odor, which could make people ill.
So there are health and safety concerns for failing to have a vent pipe and a vent box.
Yes, it could be.
Okay. And I'm gonna share my screen with you once again, ma'am. Okay, do you see what I'm showing you?
Yes.
Okay, and this is the customer responsibility chart, is that correct?
Correct.
And the photo I'm showing you, letter G corresponds to vent pipe.
Correct.
Okay, and whose responsibility is it to have a functioning vent pipe?
The homeowner.
And the vent box?
The homeowner.
Okay. Now, there were subsequent re-inspections done for this property, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and I'm gonna just pull those up in one moment and have you take a look at those, ma'am. Okay, now I'm showing you what's been marked as the city Exhibit 2. Okay, and what is this that I'm showing you, Ms. Walker Frazier?
This is a reinspection. Can you go up some? Can you take it up so I can see the bottom of it? Well, at this time, this when the inspector first got the initial call on 12/12, and he went out and he was unable to verify because he didn't get the sewage back up because he didn't get a response at the door. So he left a green card, no response card, and satisfied the ticket.
Okay. And this is now another reinspection record, is that correct?
Yes, that's a reinspection. This one right here,
And what is the date of this reinspection?
12/30/22.
And what is indicated on this document?
That he found no repairs made to defective vent pipe at 1529, no permitting system, no patch at footway, and he left a letter of intent to shut off for 1/16/23. And he asked that they send a final notice of defect.
And lastly, this is another reinspection record?
Yes, it is.
And what is the date of this record?
1/24/23.
And what does this indicate for us?
That they found no repairs made at 1529 to no vent box visible. Property has L&I appeal, and they put it on hold for reinspection. And that's the inspector's number per 121, and it went back to reinspection.
Okay, and these reinspection records, these are all documents that are kept in the normal course and scope of Philadelphia Water Department business?
Correct.
And these were all made by each respective inspector who had personal knowledge and who recorded the events in the regular course of their business?
Correct.
Okay, and as we sit here today, Ms. Walker Frazier, does 1529 Porter Street remain in non-compliance?
Correct.
I have no further questions at this time, Chairman Pincus.
Very good. Just a moment. Mr. Fraley, if you have any questions, you don't at this point have an opportunity. This is not the time to present your side of the incident or whatever the city's case is, but do you have any questions based on the statements made by Ms. Walker to ask of her?
No, I do not.
Very good. Does anyone from the board have any questions for Ms. Walker?
No, I do not.
Very good. Do you have any additional witnesses, Ms. Athanasiadis?
I do not, Chairman Pincus, I would just ask to mark and move into evidence City 1, City 2, and the customer responsibility chart.
They are accepted. Mr. Fraley, do you want to present your side of the case?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. My name is Jeff Fraley. I'm the pro bono property manager for the Muro family. As you can see, they're down in Colonial Heights, Virginia. And they couldn't make it back to attend, nor are they very savvy with Zoom and web conference hearings. So I agreed to help out in this circumstance. Generally, as an issue arises at the property, I do take care of it because I'm in Baltimore, Maryland, and I'm only 90 miles from the property. This instance in particular, the vent pipe and the vent box was in place once upon a time. And as I listed in the appeal, the city undertook a pretty large utility infrastructure project on Mole Street. I believe it was probably 5 to 7 years ago. I saw the project with my own eyes. I can't remember exactly when it occurred, but they dug up Mole Street, which is the adjacent street to the building. It's a corner property, front facing Porter, side facing Mole Street. So they dug up the entire street. And when they did, they damaged quite a bit of curbing up and down Mole Street. Once the project was complete, the contractors were then commissioned to come out and replace all of the sidewalks and curbing on Mole Street. And the sidewalks and curbing for this particular property create a shape of an L because it's forward facing on Porter. So the contractor replaced all of the curbing, all of the sidewalk for the forward facing part of the building facing Porter Street, and then all of the side facing building on Mole Street. This was done years ago when the project completed for the city of Philadelphia. We had no idea that the vent cap was covered up by the contractors or damaged, ripped out, whatever happened overnight. suddenly there's no vent box or vent. Well, I can say vent box because that's visually what you can see from standing above it. So it was, I understand the purpose of a vent box. So does the Muro family. We're not debating that at all. We understand that it's our responsibility. The appeal was to say that we're not the ones that took it out, nor are we the ones that would have covered it up with sidewalk. That was a pretty expensive sidewalk you folks put in. It's really nice. Very thankful for it. But we're not the ones that did that. So that's the nature of my appeal as written in the appeal.
I guess I'm just gonna object as to the city. There's been no evidence presented that the city and whatever the city entails put in these sidewalks or created the condition that's at issue in this case.
The evidence is clear. So who do we
Just a
appeal?
moment, Mr. Fraley. I'm going to overrule your objection, but I think I can provide an answer and save a debate back and forth. The city, at least we're all city residents. Can you excuse me? I'm going to go on mute for a moment. Please excuse me. My apologies. What I was about to say is that the city generally, when it repairs streets, it hires independent contractors. And so I think what Ms. Athanasiadis is saying is there's no evidence that necessarily it was the city that did the work for Mole Street and or the sidewalk work. It could well have been independent contractors and more than likely were contractors engaged by the city, but it wasn't necessarily the city that did the work.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you. I believe, is that acceptable?
That is acceptable, Chairman.
All right, so I guess I have some questions because attached to your appeal was a letter that you signed, Mr. Fraley, dated January 1 and was noted as received by the board's staff, in which you state that there is an existing clean out on the sewer line just inside of the basement of the building, along with a vent pipe that penetrates the rooftop. And I understand, I mean, we all have plumbing in our house, at least those of us who have houses, which does include vent pipes. But I guess my question, not for you necessarily, but for Ms. Walker Frazier, is whether that a vent pipe inside the house that penetrates the ceiling is adequate to provide the appropriate venting for the sewer line on the house.
No. My answer is no.
Very good. That you answered the question. Do you understand, Mr. Fraley, the question I was asking?
Oh, I understand your question.
Very good. Anything further you wish to add to your statements?
Are you talking to me, sir?
Yes, I am.
Yes. Going back to your last comment, I guess, since we have the expert on the call, how does a vent box at the sidewalk differ from material flow through a sewer line than a vent box venting through a mechanical chase in the roof of a building at a third floor?
Okay, I have never heard of a vent box that goes out the roof to the third floor. I know we all have stack pipes in our house, but the stack pipe is inside the house, and it's nothing that ventilates up to the roof to take sewer gas odor out. So your sewage goes down and out to the sewer. So that vent pipe that's outside, that has the vent box on top of it, that's what you're using to let the sewer gas odor leave the property. So I don't know what you have on the third floor on your roof, but that has nothing to do with the sewer.
It's a vent.
Well,
It's
I
exactly
understand.
as the chairman described, it's a sewer vent that exits the building above the roof.
Fine.
as-
I hear your
This is a
testimony. and-
Technical question because I'm in the business. I just wanted to hear what the expert had to say, but
Very good, very
Okay.
good. All right, do you have any closing argument to make?
no, I understand the purpose of Event Box. I understand that it's the property owner's responsibility. But again, we were not the ones that tore up the sidewalks and rebuilt the sidewalks and forgot to, or damaged or overlooked the reinstallation of the vent pipe and the vent box. Well, I can verify vent box. The vent pipe could very well be underneath the slab, but there's definitely not a vent box. So
I understand, and it's quite possible that as an individual property owner, that either you as the representative or Mr. or Mrs. Miro, whoever is Ms. Miro, didn't at the time say, hey, wait a minute, there's something wrong here, which was when however many years ago this work was done, and say, there's something wrong here, something's missing, I need to get this straightened out. Maybe I need to file a claim with the city for what damage or for the failure to reinstall what was there once before, and maybe that should have been done when that work was done to repair the street and replace the sidewalks. Ms. Athanasiadis, do you have a closing argument?
Just briefly, very brief, Chairman, Miss Odessa Walker Frazier was not presented as an expert. She was presented as a witness regarding the records for PWD. She's indicated the purpose, and Mr. Fairley acknowledged the purpose of the vent pipe and the vent box. Any work that purportedly was done, as indicated, was done based on Google Images sometime between 2017, 2018. So it's been several years. If there was an issue at that time, it could have been brought up to whoever the contractors were, whatever utility it was. We have no records to indicate that it was a PWD project. Regardless, the violation stands. These items are needed, and I would just ask that the board find city affirmed in this matter.
All right, if I may, I'd like to ask the board, that was the closing argument. So I'd like to ask our board to go into executive session. Again, for not more than 5 minutes. It's 3:30. We'll resume at 3:35. Here, recording in progress. Good, Ms. Robb. We have heard the case. We've heard argument, and we are prepared to vote the case. My vote is city affirmed with a 60-day stay of enforcement. It would be our understanding that in making a stay, that there was the possibility of a water shutoff to the property. We don't know whether the property is or is not occupied, but in any case, by saying a 60-day stay, we would presume that there will be no shutoff, and the the property owner, has a 60-day window to address the issue of installing a vent box or determining whether the vent box and vent is there and putting one in, because that's what the law requires with respect to water service in the city. So it's city affirmed with a 60-day stay of enforcement.
City affirmed with a 60-day stay of enforcement.
City affirmed 60-day stay of enforcement.
City affirmed 60-day stay of enforcement.
All right, is that understood by the city, by Ms. Athanasiadis and Mr. Fraley? Did you hear the decision of the board? City affirmed 60-day stay.
Yes, Chairman
with it.
Pincus.
I'm sorry, Mr. Fraley?
loud and clear.
Very good. Very good. That concludes this matter for today. If
Thank
you
you.
don't like the decision, you can appeal it. Thank you, Ms. Athanasiadis.
Thank you, Chairman Pincus. Thank you, everyone. May I be
And-
excused?
You may, as well as your witness.
Ms. Walker
and-
Frazier, thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
that-
Thank you.
That concludes the business of the board.
And you going to release the court reporter?
I have concluded the business, and